Hi, it's Dr. Steve from Misericordia University. Let's take a look at unit planning at Misericordia University. For some folks, this will be new material, and for some of you, it will be a review of some things you already know. I'm going to consider 3 different documents, and I will post them all on Blackboard for your review. The first one, let's take a look at the MU unit plan. The first portion of this document talks about the components of the unit plan, and it begins with a cover page. Now notice it talks about a binder. For the purposes of our class, you're going to submit everything electronically, so you do not need a hard copy nor a binder. Ultimately, for student teaching, you will do this in the form of a binder. On the cover page, notice there are some very specific items that are asked for to be included. Each of the sections of the unit plan should begin on a separate page, and if you are doing it in hard copy form, for example, for student teaching, every section should have a tab and be set apart from the other sections in that way, so it's easy to locate all the different sections. The first section is the needs statement. So this is your introduction as to what you're doing and why. So provide a paragraph that talks about what you're teaching and also talk about why you're teaching this particular set of skills. List the prerequisite skills that students need to have in order to be successful in this unit, and provide a schedule of implementation. For us, the schedule is going to be just a simulated schedule. The second section deals with the standards. List the standards that you're going to address in this unit. Don't forget to also list the codes of the standards and actually type them out. Again, instead of typing them, you might want to locate the standards online and simply copy and paste them in. Create and list the standards aligned unit goals, and also list key terms or vocabulary or concepts related to the goals. In the third section, include a unit pretest. And the second portion here asks for you to collect and graph the results. In your field, in your practicum experience for this semester, if you have done that, you can include that in. If not, then feel free to just omit that. The fourth section of the unit plan calls for you to develop a unit concept map. In the map, include the topic, the objectives, the activities, and be aware of HALO as you do that, and also the assessments that you're going to use as part of the unit. In the fifth section, we ask you to describe or list the assessed activities. So provide a list of assessments and state the values, the point values for these activities. In the sixth section, you should include the lesson plans that are involved in the unit. Now, when you're teaching in student teaching using a unit, there may be a certain specified number of lesson plans or minimum number that you'll need to use, as well as in other classes when you're developing a unit. For our class, follow the instructions that I provide as to the number of lesson plans minimum. Sections 9 and 10 you would perform when you're teaching this unit, for example, during student teaching. But for the purposes of our course, we will omit the data-based evaluation and also the self-critique as to how well the whole unit took place. The second document that we will take a look at is the checklist for preparing a unit. Realize that this is the same checklist that is used in early childhood in the 250 class, because I wanted to make sure that the early childhood and the secondary ed courses were in alignment with each other. So to Well, as you prepare your unit or as you finalize your unit, take a look at this checklist and make sure all of these items are covered. For example, on the cover page, there are a series of things we mentioned in the prior document that should be located there. Here is a checklist saying, have you included those things? The needs statement as well. Are you describing what you're teaching and why, and so on? And simply go through the checklist and make sure you've covered all those pieces. In the section on standards, we have also included an example so that you can see the standard listed, the objective, and the key terms. So just check to make sure you have done this throughout your unit. Likewise, in the subsequent sections, we're giving you very specific things to look for in the pretest and also in the unit concept map. Just check to make sure that you've completed all of these. This can be a good guide for you. The checklist document also provides an example of the unit concept map. Here we see a unit where only 2 lessons will be represented. In the first lesson, you can see the objective, you can see the activities we're going to perform with the students, what the students will accomplish. The assessments are listed. Notice that for assessments, we want to consider both formal and also informal assessments that you will do during the class time. And finally, point values associated with these assessments. In the section on assessments, make sure that you're respecting HALO. Make sure that you're considering the high achievers, the average, the low achievers, and also other in your classroom. The checklist also provides an example of how to deal with the assessment area. Under the area for lesson plans, notice that it specifies that there will be a minimum of 5 lesson plans. Keep in mind, depending on the circumstances of the semester in our course, we may vary from that number. So please go by the number that the instructor points out to you. The third and final document we will consider is the rubric for the unit plan. Now, keep in mind, while this unit plan rubric states that it's being used in our course, it is the same rubric that's going to be utilized in student teaching as well, just that we're not going to consider all of the elements as they will during student teaching. So as I look to assess and grade how you have accomplished your unit plan, I will be using this document. Information from this document will also be recorded in an electronic format and be entered into a database that will be shared by all programs in our department. So we'll have mid-level, we'll have early childhood, and the secondary ed unit plans recorded in there, and we'll use that for overall assessment of our program as we report to PDE. Remember that the last 2 points of the rubric for the unit plan, numbers 9 and 10, we will not be considering for grading within this course. These areas will be considered when you're student teaching. Notice that grading is out of 80 possible points and not out of 100. Also notice that, as we have stated in class, that we have 4 points on the rubric scale, and the one which states proficient, which is a number 3, as opposed to distinguished, which is number 4, it is difficult to get a distinguished. You have to be very high on the scale and working on the high end of everything in order to achieve that distinguished honor. So realize that for grading purposes, you do not have to get a 4, a perfect 4 on each of these elements in order to receive an A in your unit plan. And that holds not just for this class, but also for student teaching. Our culminating activity is Culminating Project 2-5, Create a Unit with Lesson Plans. Ideally, if you got to prepare and possibly teach from a unit in your practicum experience this semester, that would be ideal to use for this project. If you did not get to complete all of that, that's okay. You can still create a unit. And again, we're not expecting to see that you have taught the entire unit and that you have done pre-test and post-test and also graphed all of those results. Should you have any questions as you prepare your unit, please let me know, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Remember that for the purposes of our class, you're not expected to print out a hard copy, you're not expected to tab the sections, you're not expected to place things in a binder. You're simply going to upload the document or documents up to Blackboard. Hope you enjoyed this review of unit planning at Misericordia. Look forward to seeing you at our next class.